This is Advisor 3.0, a show designed to help you as a financial advisor elevate your professional practice, transform your clients' lives, and take your business to the next level. I am Abraham Okusoya. Welcome to the show.
A show of hands, can you tell me, have you ever hitchhiked before? Have you ever gotten in a stranger's car? Okay, a few hands. So you might not know this, but after World War I and World War II, it was actually very, very common for people to hitchhike, right? The public roads, especially all throughout Europe, were just destroyed, and that was a very common way for people to get around. It stayed common through the 60s and even into the 70s, until counterculture really ruined it, because people started to have a bad association with hitchhiking. They saw it as something that, the hippies were doing. And so it really kind of went the way. And then in the 80s and 90s, we hear these horror stories about someone who was hitchhiking and they were murdered or something even worse, right? So people stopped hitchhiking. But then the sharing economy came out, right? And we all were introduced to the concept of Uber. Who here has taken an Uber, a Lyft, some other form of transportation like that, right? So in reality, you've all become hitchhikers, but you're now paying to hitchhike rather than the old school hitchhiking, right? When Uber was launched, they had a real problem because hitchhiking had this bad connotation to it. And people thought, I'm not getting in a car with a stranger that I don't know, that who knows where they're going to take me. That feels unsafe. So Uber needed to come up with a way to make people, feel safe and for it to become commonplace. And so what did they do? They came up with the Uber map as a key feature of the app. So when you are standing there waiting for your taxi to come, you can see exactly where the car is going to be. And then once you're in the car, it gives you this sense of safety that you're tracking exactly where it's going to go, right? The great Rory Sutherland said that the Uber map is a psychological moonshot because it doesn't actually reduce the waiting time for a taxi. It simply makes waiting 90% less frustrating, right? When we think about being financial advisors and marketing our business, I love to use the example of the Uber map because what the Uber map did was made communicating so much easier. It removed this barrier that people had that was all in their head really, and made the communication is what solved the problem. So Uber didn't add more cars to the road. They didn't build a whole new infrastructure. They used communication via this app to make people feel more confident about choosing them. And there's a big lesson for all of us in our business, and it's really something that the most hyper-growth firms have tapped into. They understand that communication is the secret sauce for growing fast, for retaining clients and adding new ones. And so that's what we're gonna focus on today, is how are the hyper-growth firms doing it? So the first thing that they're doing is they understand how consumers find an advisor today has drastically changed. Has anyone here had a client come to them and said, I found you through ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, any of those? Okay, no one. Interesting. I'm going to show you some examples that we get your brain thinking here. But when we think about marketing in general, have anybody here heard of the marketing funnel? People come in at the top, right? Okay, they're aware of your brand and then they kind of go through the stages. That's how it used to be. Today, I like to say marketing is now a pinball machine. We don't know where people are coming in from sometimes. It could be social media, it could be a referral. Those referrals could then go to your website or your LinkedIn. It could be an email that is sent out, it could be an event, but most people are having multiple touch points before they come in. And even though a lot of advisors are, yes, still saying we're primarily growing through referrals, those referrals are Googling you and checking you out before they come in. And they're often being referred to multiple firms and they are exploring many of them before they make their choice, right? So this is how searches used to work on Google, right? You would go to Google, you type in a question and you'd get a list of websites. This is how they work today. That same question, how to start claiming Social Security, a big question that clients are asking in the US, you now are given the phone number of the Social Security office. You don't have to click a website and read a whole article. It gives you the information that you need. And if we look at the same question on ChatGPT, if you ask ChatGPT, how do I start claiming Social Security? It not only gives you the info, at the end it says, would you like guidance on spousal, disability, or survivor benefits, or help estimating your monthly amount, right? So things are drastically changing in the world of SEO, search engine optimization. And this is how, if somebody searched, best financial advisor, best wealth manager near me, this is what they used to see. They would, again, get a list of results. Now they get a list of results that are business listings from Google itself. And if you take a look, can anybody yell out, what do you think these businesses all have in common? Google reviews. They all have a lot of reviews. So these tools are looking at what actual consumers who've used this business are saying about the business, and they don't really care what we all have to say about ourselves as much as what real customers who have used our services have to say about us. Now, if we ask ChatGPT for a list of the best financial advisors in a specific area, they will tell us. So I'm sure all of you are going to leave here today and go to ChatGPT and say, who's the best financial advisor in name your town? And you'll want to be on that list, right? And I get asked all the time, well, Sam, how does that actually happen? How do I get on the list? But some of you might also be saying, I don't think anybody's actually doing that yet. I don't think most people are going and looking. Well, here, the proof is in the pudding. I asked advisors, have you ever gotten a client or a lead from social media? And this was just recently, within hours, people were saying, yes, this person came in, and yes, we had this new client come in. And some of them even shared the prompts with me that the clients had typed in order to land there. AI is quickly taking over other forms of search because of the better results that it gives us. So as firms, we want to be the ones that show up when someone ranks like this. So how do we do it? Well, this is some research from Neil Patel, and he found the number one factor that determines whether or not an AI, Perplexity, Gemini, ChatGPT, will rank you and give you as the top is reviews from actual clients. So if you leave here today and you're thinking, how can I have ChatGPT recommend me if somebody goes and search? The number one thing you can do is get more reviews. Google reviews are truly the best for this because they are going to help on Google's products as well as other search engines, but you can use Trustpilot, you can use other platforms here in the UK that clients might use. But the point is to get those reviews because they're making a signal to the search engines. The other thing is the context of the review matters. So let's say if you want people who are young families, and I just moved here from the US and I'm in Fitzrovia. Let's say you want people who are young families in Fitzrovia to find you. That's your target audience. It would be great if the clients leaving you a review could say something like, as a young mom with 3 kids living in Fitzrovia, we love working with Russell Wealth because of these things. So the context of what's in the review does matter in being ranked in these engines. The other thing I like to say, though, is that Google reviews and reviews in general really are the new referral. So yes, hyper-growth firms are still growing by referral, but when you think of a review, think of it as a one-to-many referral, right? If John and I are at a dinner party and I start telling him all about my financial advisor and I love the firm and what they've done for me, that is one person who now knows. That's it. That's great. That's wonderful, but that's one person. But if they do it publicly in a review, it's a one-to-many, right? So hundreds, if not thousands of people now can be impacted by this one review. So homework number 1, leaving here, focus on creating a system to ask for reviews. I just gave a marketing workshop yesterday. One of the advisors there said they have a little QR code that they have on the desk after every client meeting. People see it. They could put their phone up and it says, would you mind please leaving us a review after our meeting today? And they'll verbally ask them and it takes them right to the Google review page. So that's one way you could do it. Could also do an email campaign, but homework assignment number 1 is to get more of these Google reviews. So you've heard about SEO, search engine optimization. All of these things that we're talking about today are really this new generation we're in because of AI, which is called AEO, so answer engine optimization. So it's no longer enough to optimize your website for search. We want to optimize it for the way people find businesses today, which is really through longer prompts, right? We're not just saying financial advisor near me, we're saying best financial advisor in Birmingham that works with business owners who have these particular needs. Very, very long, specific searches. And we also are optimizing for voice. A lot of people now talk into their phone, they ask Alexa, they ask Siri those questions, and they talk the way they would talk to a friend, they don't type it. So you want to think about what are the prompts that people would use. So instead of ranking higher, we want to deliver the best answer in our content and on the way that we list out our services on our website. When you're writing blog posts, you're creating videos, you're putting out podcasts, one of the biggest things you can do to improve your AEO or your answer engine optimization is to form all of your content as question and answer based. So instead of the 5 tips, to know before retiring in London as a salesperson, you would say, what are the 5 most important things to consider if you're on a commission before you retire? And then it would be point number 1 would be a question, and then you answer it in a paragraph. So you're reformatting your comment to be question and answer based, because that's really what all these AI tools are based on, is giving the best answer to the questions people ask. Does that make sense? Okay. I know it's a little technical, so I have this checklist for you. If you want it, you can just text AEO to 33777. It will ask you for your email, and then you can get it. And it will give you very detailed instructions, because I don't want to make this whole talk too technical, but I know that it's something that's sort of cutting edge. A lot of people are concerned about. If you text it, it will also give you a link to a marketing guide that my team at FMG has put together with pretty much everything that you could want to dive into these hypergrowth secrets. It's pretty comprehensive. You can print it out as a PDF, look at it digitally. And if you're thinking, man, this is cool, what technology is she using to do this? Because I speak at events and I'd love to do this. This is called Textiful, Textiful. And you can go and give a talk and have people text it, and you can collect email addresses or contact information of everybody sitting in the audience really, really easily by giving them away something. So that's called Textiful. Well, I guess the questions are coming in that way, so I won't say any questions. It's so hard for me to have you all on headphones. I'm not used to the less interaction there. Okay, so the second thing that hyper-growth firms are doing is harnessing the power of not just social media, but social search. Raise your hand, have you ever gone to Instagram or TikTok to find a beauty product, a burger, the best restaurant to go to, a hotel? Okay, so a good number of people. So if you think about what these platforms have in common and why especially the next generation is so drawn to them, is they are incredibly visual, right? We love to see the visuals of what we're going to actually get. People in the UK now spend 2.5 hours per day watching videos and on social media. And this isn't just one source, multiple sources, I have them listed there. That is a lot of time, right? So we want to be where our audience is. And I get pushback sometimes saying, well, my clients aren't, on their phones all that much. They're older, this or that. I can tell you that every single year, the average age of the person on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube just keeps going up, the adoption rate, right? So it's no longer just young people, it's across the board. And it's because these algorithms know how to pull us in and deliver content. And we're now seeing it appear on the platforms where older people used to hang out, right? So if you're on Facebook, you're seeing reels from Instagram on Facebook. So it's across the board, all different ages and demographics. So we talked a little bit about, would you go look for a burger on Instagram? Social search is one of the biggest ways that people are now finding and connecting with businesses. And it can look like this, right? Somebody just going in and searching directly on Instagram. I'm actually going to skip that one real fast, but it can also look like this. It can be they're going to LinkedIn and looking for a specific business and a bunch of content comes up. Or it can look like this, where they're searching on Google and they're being delivered YouTube videos that are telling them the answers to things, right? So this one is, do I get taxed on RSUs that my company gives me? And you can see specific videos that come up. The hyper growth firms that we are working with understand that you need, going back to that pinball machine, having a presence on multiple platforms, repurposing your content in multiple formats is so imperative, because we just don't know always which platform someone is going to use or which one they're going to favor. I will say though, if someone asks me, Sam, of all the social media platforms that I could prioritize, which one would you suggest? I'll always say, well, I need to know more about your business, who's your target audience, all of that. But I would say every single firm that I've ever advised, I've ask them to have YouTube as part of their strategy, because across the board, it doesn't matter if you're 9 months old and your parent props up the iPad at the table at a restaurant to show you a video to keep you happy, or if you're 90 and you're searching a how to do something video. YouTube is the most used social platform across all ages, all demographics, all socioeconomic status. And it's the one that allows people to get to know us the best. And in our relationship-based business, what could be better than someone seeing our face and hearing our voice, right? So if you're looking to add something to your mix, videos, and especially having a presence on this platform is something I highly recommend. But if you're wondering about the others, I know it might be hard for you guys to see in the back. Here's just a breakdown. LinkedIn is great for people who are still actively working, right? So if you're targeting people who are already retired, you don't need to spend as much time on LinkedIn. Instagram, great for 25 to 55-year-olds, especially women, mass affluent women. Facebook, I would even say 35 is a little bit younger, but it's really like 40 to 75-year-olds, and it's especially great if you're in a local community. Does anybody here really only work with people in their local area? Being in active in the Facebook groups in those areas is a fantastic, fantastic strategy. YouTube, everyone who has a pulse, so pretty much everybody. And then TikTok is really next gen still, but that's really, really starting to change. And I've got some people, I have a client that we work with who specializes in Medicare in the US, and they are just killing it with their TikTok videos, and the number of people that are coming in the door that are saying, my daughter forwarded this to me, or my son sent this to me, right? So it doesn't even matter that their demographic's not on there. Their kids are sending it to mom and dad. So the third thing that hypergrowth firms are doing is they stop talking like of an advisor here at a conference talking to their friends, and they start talking like their clients. And this is such a key tip, because it is something we all struggle with. We all go to school and our teacher tells us, give me a 3-page essay. They don't actually care the content. They just want, it to be long. And so we're trained to be more verbose, to use more words than we need to, and to try to sound smart. Well, we actually want to use less words, and we don't want to sound smart. We want to make the person reading what we're writing say, yes, Samantha gets me. She has worked with other people like me, and she knows how to solve problems for people like me. That's what we're looking to do, right? We don't want to sound really, really super smart. We want somebody to feel comfortable that we are going to help them. So this is a quick exercise you can leave here and do. You pull up your website and you have a little piece of paper out, and for every page, your home page, your about page, your contact page, your services page, how many times do you start with we? We've been in business 35 years. We have expertise doing this. We serve this type of client, versus how often do you start with you or phrase it in a way that the person feels like you'll get them, right? So the clients we work with typically have these kinds of questions. How do I create an income strategy in retirement? How do I do this? How do I do this, right? So they're using that I language to help the person understand that they get them. So writing like your clients talk could look like this. If you're in your late 40s to early 50s, let's establish your plan to get to the next chapter. You may have questions like this, and look at how easily written these are. Can I leave my salary job and start my own venture? What are my retirement options? How do we fund college education costs, right? Really, really simple language. So again, what we're focusing on, what is the problem that the client or the customer has? What's the trigger point getting them to pick up the phone or send the email to work with us? and what is the solution that we provide to their problem, and how can we say it in their language. Here's another example. This firm, Define Financial, Taylor Schulte is a friend of mine. You're age 50 or over, but you have 2 million or more in retirement savings, right? So they're qualifying the audience. People know when they land on this site if they're a good fit for this firm without needing to spend a ton of time. It's right on the homepage. And then they say things like, how do I turn my nest egg into a paycheck? How can I reduce my taxes in retirement? Are my investments suitable for retirement? They're not writing a dissertation here. It's very, very simple language that cuts to the point. So there's something called the Flesch-Kincaid readability test, and we use it in marketing to determine if the writing we've written is going to be a good fit for our target audience. What you may be surprised to find, and I'm sorry, this is based on the US school system, so somebody can help me do the conversion, but magazines and newspaper articles across the world are written at a 7th grade level. So I don't know what that would be here. It's like 13 years old. Anybody know what's okay. Year 8? Okay, around there. So you want to write very, very simply is the point. And if you write to be too complicated, what happens is, it's not that people aren't smart, it's that we don't have time. When we're scrolling social media or we land on a website or we're reading an email, we say, is this relevant to me right now at this moment? And if it isn't, we move on, right? So we want to capture their attention. So a really easy way you can do this, you go to the HemingwayApp.com, you can add it to your desktop, you can put it on your phone, and anything you write, copy and paste it, put it in here before you send that client email, before you do that new social post or marketing campaign, and it will tell you what grade level your writing is, and if you need to dumb it down, how to do it. It's got a great little AI feature, and there's a free version of this, by the way. So I love this tool. I use it all the time. Highly suggest clients use it. So again, we want to stop talking like we're explaining something to our peers sitting in this room, and we want to start talking the way the clients would talk. Have a notebook with you, and when clients or prospects ask you questions, write it down the exact way they ask it. Do not rewrite it in your verbiage, and then make that the title of your podcast. Make that the title of your blog post or the subject line of your email, and you will be shocked at how much better that content performs. Okay, hypergrowth firms, number 4, they know how to hook people in. I spend a lot of time coaching on hooks because this is something that is really, really difficult for people to get naturally. We don't do this naturally. But hopefully today you're going to leave here with some really, really great tips that you can start using in your content. So how do you get someone to pay attention, right? If I started by saying, here's the 5 things you need to know about, growing through social media, you might pay attention. But what if I said, here's the thing no one tells you about growing on social media? You're hooked in, you pay attention. You want to know what is that one thing. So curiosity work really, really great because we by nature are curious people and we want to know the answer to the question. So here's what nobody tells you about fill in the blank. You won't believe what happened when, tell a story about something that you've helped someone solve for it. This might shock you, right? And it doesn't even have to be something, you might not be shocked by it, but clients and prospects might be shocked by it. So curiosity phrases are fantastic. And you can use these again in subject lines, the first line of your social media post. The goal of the hook, think of it as the gate someone is standing before. And in order for them to keep reading our social posts, to keep opening our emails, we have to use the hook to get them to go through that gate. If we don't hook them, they will scroll right by. You could have the best piece of content ever, but if 95% of people don't read it, well, that was a crapshoot and didn't do anything. So the hook is so, so important. I'm going to give you some other examples here you can use. Intriguing questions. What if I told you that? Have you ever noticed? Do you want to know the one thing that changes everything about having a great retirement? Why does no one talk about how sad it is when you finally retire after planning for it for 20 years, right? And then you do a whole blog post about making sure that you have meaning in your life when you retire. These are all fantastic hooks, and they can be used obviously in a variety of ways. But the whole, how to save for retirement with a listicle of 5 things, that does not work anymore. Hooking people in is so crucial here, and what we're really doing is trying to be the one that rises above just the overwhelming amount of content we have, because we're all seeing it. The amount of content we're exposed to every day is endless, and AI is just going to make it even more. So when you start using these kinds of hooks, you're going to see that all of a sudden, wow, people are actually paying attention. Another one you could try is problem-solving phrases. Here's how to fix. Struggling with this, try this instead. The simple way to overcome this. Finally, a solution for whatever it is. And I see you're all taking pictures, and that's great. When you get the, if you did that text 33 or AEO 33777, it will ask you for your email, and I will email the slides to you all too. So you don't, if you can take pictures, but in case you want it, I'm happy to send it. So again, here's just an example of this in real life, right? So instead of talking about email subject lines and just saying, here's a great tip for your email subject lines, I said instead, this one simple change can double your email open rate and get thousands of more views on your social posts, right? That is a huge hook. You want to know what is the change. This is an example from my friend, Thomas Kopelman, an advisor in the States. And he wrote, as a financial planner working with high net worth 30 to 50-year-olds, I find blind spots in everyone's financial life. So if you're somebody who's high net worth and you're between 30 and 50, you're going to stop and say, what is he going to tell me? I want to know what that blind spot is. And then he goes on to say, here are the 5 most common blind spots, right? So he's first qualifying who should pay attention and then giving the tip. Here's an example from Streamline Financial. They have an amazing YouTube channel. So if you are looking to create more YouTube videos, highly suggest checking Dave Zoller out. If you notice, one of the things that he does really well is he does a ton of content that is what I would say on the parallel or periphery of financial planning or investment management content. So instead of just talking about your investments and taxes and things, he talks about the human side of things that people are the most interested in. And then he weaves in, oh, and yes, I can help you because I'm a planner and I help tons of people with this problem. So look at these titles, right? If you're in your 50s or 60s, watch this. And it goes on to say life lessons from people who've already retired. Or they retired 10 years early due to 3 things. I want to know what those 3 things are. I don't know about you. So, and then the thumbnails also play on the hook, right? My advisor said, I can't retire. Well, we all want to know why. What don't you have? What aren't you prepared for? So on YouTube, the visual, and actually on all social posts, but really on YouTube, the visual hook is just as important as the written hook itself. And if you are starting to make videos, the biggest tip I can give you is when you start your video, don't say, hi, so I'm Samantha Russell, and today I'm going to teach you about, you're going to lose people already. Instead, you start right away with the hook. What if I told you the number one thing that all of my clients wish they knew before they retire, right? That you're going to keep watching versus I'm Samantha Russell and I'm a financial advisor who skip that whole part. You can introduce yourself once you've got their attention. Make sense? Okay. All right. So hypergrowth firms, what do they do? Number 5, they harness the power of strategic nudges. So going back to Uber and the importance of communication, right? This is a study from Y-Charts. Does anybody here use Y-Charts or have you heard of it? It's an American company that helps create charts that you can use in your communications. They did a really amazing study recently, and they asked high net worth clients, would you consider your advisor's frequency and style of communication when deciding whether to retain their services? I don't know about you, no surprise to me, 9 out of 10 said yes. But then almost half said they wish their advisor communicated with them more, right? So a lot of people, I think, get nervous. I don't want to email my clients too much. I get too much email. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be messaging them all the time. When there's a lot of noise and you don't hear anything, what do? You worry more, right? Not less. And so this just plays on that. Communication is really key to organic growth. This is a breakdown of who said what, but basically almost half said they wish their advisor communicated with them more. And does anybody here know Michael Kitces? Have you heard of him? Okay. So he does a study every year as well on what marketing strategies advisory firms are using in the US and what's working best. And what he found is only 24% of firms are using what we call drip marketing, these nudges. So does anybody has heard of drip marketing before? So it's the idea that You collect leads, you collect their emails, their contact information, and you don't just pile on and start selling to them right away. You share relevant information over time that will help them in some way that's purely educational, maybe with a little call to action at the bottom, like, hey, if you could use help with this. So you share tax strategies, and then you say, if you could use help with this, we're a firm helping people. Here's a link to book time on my calendar, but it's not a hard sell. And it works so well, but yet so few firms are actually doing it. But the hypergrowth firms have a system in place to do it, and that's key. So what that looks like in real life, you have some sort of download guide, ebook, or you go to an event, you have a giveaway. And then when you collect those emails, you don't just put them all on one big list, but you say, what were these people all interested in? They were all in an event that we hosted talking about estate planning, or they were all in an event we hosted talking about retiring in the next 5 years. And you segment them in your CRM. So you have your overall client list, your overall prospect list, but then you say, these people all came in through our website or all came in through this event about estate planning. They're going on the estate planning list. And now when there's relevant information out there, you can just email that list, and you're not swamping the whole list of your audience with content that's not relevant to them, right? So this is really, really crucial. And this is what it can look like, right? When the stock market just had a huge drop in the US, we put an email like this out for our clients. What just happened in the stock market? Notice the hook, notice the subject line. It sounds like something someone would ask their friend. It's not written in it's not financial advisor speak. It's talking like your clients. So that was the subject line. This had an amazing open rate, and it's just breaking it down really, really simply. Here's what happened. Here's why you don't need to be worried about it. Here's why we have a plan to be invested in the long run. It's simple language, it's reassuring language, and this is the kind of thing that a client is way more likely to share with a friend. You know, we want our clients to refer people to us. They're much more likely to send an email like this to a friend saying, hey, my advisor just explained to me very simply what's going on. If you want to read it, because we were talking about this over beers last night. And that's how those digital referrals can happen. Okay, number 6, they use the mere exposure effect to their benefit. So when we look at hypergrowth firms and what they're doing, this is really, really crucial, I think, probably more than ever in 2025. So if you've heard me talk recently before, you may have seen this exercise, so don't cheat. But can anyone here tell me who all 6 of these people are? Raise your hand if you can. Okay, how about 5? Okay, raise your hand if you could say you know who 4 of them are, even if you don't know their names. Raise them nice and high. Okay, good. How about 3? And 2? Somebody say at least 1. Okay, so this is why when I go and I speak at lots of events, I do this exercise over and over again. No one ever knows all 6, and no one ever knows all 5. 4 is the most anyone ever knows, and why? Those 4 folks are the face of their business. They are on video, they are out in the media, they are representing their company, right? Crazily enough, the other 2 gentlemen are the CEOs of 2 of the largest corporations in the world, Nike and Procter & Gamble. Yet nobody knows who they are. And that's okay. Nike and Procter & Gamble have massive marketing budgets. They can afford for no one to know their CEO. But for many of the firms that I coach, they don't have the liberty of having these massive marketing budgets. So if you want to grow quickly and you want to hack growth, one of the easiest ways you can do it is choose somebody, maybe 2 people from your team, to be the face of the organization. That's why we talked about YouTube being so powerful, video being so powerful. And in our industry especially, it really works because what are we trying to do? We're not trying to get someone to choose us because we think we have the best investment strategy or some secret, portfolio they've never heard of. It's the relationship. And video garners those relationships. But it also taps into something called the mere exposure effect. So the mere exposure effect is from psychology, and it tells us that just by merely being exposed to something, we will report that we like it more. So there's been all these studies. You ever hear a song on the radio and the first time you hear it, you hate it, and then the more you hear it, you find yourself singing along to it and starting to like it, right? So you can use this to your benefit. When you send emails from your business, if you make somebody the face of the company, don't send it from Russell Investments. let's say your CEO's name is John, it would come from John at Russell Investments, right? So people seeing John's name over and over and over again, putting their face up on video and in the social feed. You can really tap into this in such a great way. So let's talk about very specific tips to help you do this. It's video. That's the number one way, really, truly. And so a lot of you are going to leave here and say, I still don't feel comfortable recording on video, so I'm going to give you a few tips to make it easier. If you use your smartphone, it is one of the best tools we all have in our pocket. We don't need fancy recording equipment. And actually, Google did a study asking consumers why they watch a video. And the number one thing was just getting helpful information. It wasn't high production value. It wasn't, these actors and actresses, it was just that they got information. So don't feel like you need high production value. And in fact, I don't know about you, if I'm scrolling on social media and I see a really produced video, I usually scroll by it because I think it's an ad. But if it looks raw, like someone just talking to me, I pay more attention, right? So if you're gonna use your phone, don't do it in selfie mode. We all like to see ourselves in the shot, but the rear camera is amazing and the front camera is crap. So use the rear camera. The second thing is there's a built-in grid on every phone. You want to put your head in that middle quadrant so that your eyes are basically on that line. This is the orientation you would film in for YouTube, but if you're filming for social media, you're going to flip it and film it vertically. So vertical for social media, horizontal for YouTube. If you want to do both, you can use a tool called Veed, VED.io. I'm going to have it up on a slide in a second. But then you can just record once and it will cut for both. Again, with the fancy equipment, you don't need it. You can just use great lighting. So stand in front of a window, let the light come in and frame your face, and anywhere you go, you will have your own personal lighting set up and you will not need to bring a ring light with you. And then do not text your video to a friend or to the person who's editing it or your social media manager. It will compress the file and it will look like crap. So if you have a Mac product, you want to airdrop it. If not, you can use Dropbox or Google Share. That's going to give you the best quality for the video itself. And then again, I just mentioned this tool. I love this tool. If you see videos, if you go to LinkedIn, if you want to request me after this and see more marketing tips, you'll see lots of videos that I've recorded. I use this all the time. You can use it right on your desktop, set it up, and you can then record the video and in seconds edit it. And you can either send it one-to-one, like just to clients, one-off client, you're explaining something, you can send it one-to-many, or you can use it for marketing. And there's so many amazing AI tools in here, everybody. Things like if you mess up and you've recorded enough videos, after I think 10 videos, it knows your face and the way your mouth moves and your voice enough that if you mess up, you could say, okay, this part is crap, delete it, and type what you want it to say instead, and it will use AI to make it sound like you and make your mouth move the right way. So just mind-blowing, but makes it so you can record a lot of videos and not feel like, oh my gosh, that took forever. Okay, and then I'm gonna end with just some tips on LinkedIn specifically, because I find that when I go to these talks, the platform that people are using more than any is LinkedIn, and LinkedIn does have amazing SEO. So if clients are searching your company name or your name, your website's gonna be the first property they see, and then LinkedIn profiles will be second. And they do click on them and check you out. And it's an opportunity for you to really, show off who you are, what you do. But a lot of people will say, hey, I know these other firms that are generating great business from LinkedIn. What are they doing? This is what they're doing. So every week, these are the 3 types of content that they share. One thing that shows off expertise. So something financial planning related, something related to what you do. One that starts the conversation and just gets more eyeballs, right? So it could be something about what's happening in the news, something controversial people are talking about. And then one post that has a personal photo, video, again, your face tapping into that mirror exposure, reminding people of your brand. And then this is the engagement playbook. So a number one thing people get wrong on social media is they post, but they never interact. If you look at the firms that are growing the fastest, or anybody who's growing their business through social media, they are spending 15 to 20 minutes per day, which I know is a lot, but hey, we're all whiling away time at some point. Might as well get some business out of it. And they take these actions. So they leave 5 comments on first-degree connections posts, 5 on second-degree connection posts, respond to all the comments of people who have previously messaged them, send 3 connection requests, send 5 people DMs, and then follow 3 people. I don't have, sadly, enough time to go into the why behind all of this, but just trust me that it works. And be strategic about the second and third degree connections that you choose. So basically, if you work with a lot of physicians, you would go and look up what's a local hospital here in London, and then go through all of the people that work at that hospital, start choosing those physicians to be the people that you leave comments on. So you don't even need to connect with them and say, hey, I'm a financial advisor and I help physicians with their planning. Don't do that. Just find something they've posted and say, oh, hey, I see you posted this. A lot of the physicians we work with, we're a financial planner, we work with physicians, they're talking about this. This was great information. That's it. It's just starting the conversation so that they go, who's Samantha Russell? And go check out your profile. And now they see all the great work you're doing to help people like them. Make sense? Okay. So the last two things really quickly. If you are trying to grow, this is such an easy way to do it. Every single week on Friday, go through all the people that you met with, put their email or have an admin do this into LinkedIn and send them a connection request. You don't have to even write a note. If you sent someone an email or you met with them, they will know who you are and they will accept your request. So I also suggest doing it with the admins or the operations people of the people you're meeting with too, though, because those people, you want them to see your content that you're sharing as well. And then the very last thing, you can use this here today. If you didn't know already, on your phone, every single one of you has your own LinkedIn QR code. So if you open up the LinkedIn app and you click on you go to the search bar, and on the upper right-hand side, there's a little QR code. When you click it, this will come up and you can make it the background of your phone when you go to an event or you're at your kid's football game and you're talking to somebody. You don't have to get out a business card. You can just say, oh, here, let's connect on LinkedIn. And it's better than a business card because instead of being like, what do I email them to start the conversation? You send them a LinkedIn message and now they go check out your profile and they actually see the kinds of content you're putting out that position you as an expert. So those are the secrets of what hypergrowth firms are doing. I hope you have some good ideas that you can walk away with and implement right away. And just remember, if you have no network, no one will see your content. So you really want to be strategic about getting out there and building those connections and networking. Thank you so much.
Brilliant. What a session. I mean, you can tell it's a good session because I've got 10 questions before we've even put the Q&A up. We've got 3 minutes left.
I'm sorry to take too much time.
No, we've got a really important keynote speaker that we've got next. So we've got time for a couple of questions. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yeah.
So the first one that we had through was for new businesses that haven't got those leads or the referrals in place. What are your best tips for your starting up from the ground?
Building an email list from the ground up. The number one thing I would suggest is events, actually. So a lot of the firms that we're working with, if they've got nothing, there's a firm in the US and he's wanted to work with employees from Microsoft, Amazon, and Apple. So he learned everything he could about the benefits packages that they had. And then he created a series of workshops, so one a month. Can I take these off? You can still hear me just fine. I am talking so loud. Okay, I'm sorry, everybody, that I've been screaming in your ear. So he basically created a series of workshops, one a month, and then he went to LinkedIn, used the advanced filtering technique to find employees that work at those companies, and then sent them an invite through LinkedIn. So he does not have their email, but LinkedIn will allow you to direct message somebody a link to a LinkedIn event. So as long as you create the event on LinkedIn, you could add your Zoom link, you can then start sending people it, so without even having their email address. So that's what I would do is some sort of events where you can message people through LinkedIn the invite.
When you're sending out your nudges, what's the right amount of cadence? What's the right amount of time to leave between nudges?
Yeah, I suggest for most firms that are, especially if you're just starting out or you're not sure, a bi-weekly email. So twice a week have an email that you send to both clients and prospects. And then I would also version one for centers of influence. So a lot of firms are not emailing centers of influence content, and that really helps firms stand out. So once a month, any of the estate planning attorneys, CPAs, send them content that you're sharing with your clients, especially if it's something that they could share with their clients. That would be helpful.
Brilliant. So we've got Major Tim Peake on the main stage, so we're conscious of time. Are you around afterwards if people want to find you?
Yes, absolutely. And again, if you want to connect with me on social media and send me a message that way, and if you text AEO to 33777, you'll be able to share your email with me, and you'll get all the slides from today.
Put your hands together for Samantha Russell.
Thank you so much.
That's a wrap on today's show. Massive thanks to my production crew, especially Jake Osha, Melissa Canham, and the entire team. And of course, to our sponsor, Timeline, the market-leading provider of integrated planning technology and model portfolio service to advisors. I do hope you've enjoyed today's show. Head over to Apple Podcast and give us your review there. Until next time, goodbye.